Very good afternoon, my dear students. So today I'm going to discuss about introduction to computer system. Now, under the introduction to computer system, what I'm going to discuss the different generations, how the different generations are, and how those different generations work in the computer system. So different generation. This is the thing what we see that in a computer system we can find that there are the different type of generations are there. Okay, so different generation as we see as we find that we have a different generations and we are conducting the work in the different generations. Clear? So as we are conducting the work in the different generation, those the different generations what are there we find it that there are different technologies we are using. Okay, so what is that technology that we find that we are using? Different pattern of technologies we find it that will going to make an impact on the different type of promises, different type of future holds or everything. So every generation what we find that each of the generation has its own patterns and own way. Now first let us talk about the first generation. What is the first generation? First generation is a computer generation, which is the first computer generation. What we find in this generation, we use what? Vacuum tube technology. Okay, we use the vacuum tube technology. We use what? The punch card of data input, and we use the punch card paper system as for output, isn't it? Machine language is used for writing the program and magnetic tapes are used for the external storage. So this is what the vacuum tubes are. Those are the vacuum tubes what is being utilized in this generation to do the work, isn't it? So these are the small size. The vacuum tube previously was very big size, bigger than this size, the first one. Okay, and what we find it, the punch card. This is the punch card for data to input. This is the punch card, data to input is being utilized. And what we find, the punch card paper tape for output. This is a punch card paper tape for output. The data has been outputted in this particular pattern, isn't it? So this is how we can find it that in the first generation we have a different pattern of storage system. So the first generation was very bulky, and what it is emitted in a large amount of heat. So as it emits the large amount of heat, those the large amount of heat, what we find it that each of this particular thing became very much heated. Okay, so when we get it heated, what we have, there is a large size of, okay, cumbersome handles are there. So manually that those the handles what we are doing, we are limited that commercial use, we have limited it for the commercial use. So this is the concept what we find in this particular concept. The data are being given in a binary code language or the machine language programming form. Okay, so this is what we can find in this particular generation is this generation work on this particular different patterns of things. That means it generate a huge amount of it. It is a machine where you use a many vacuum tube, not only a single vacuum tube, many vacuum tubes are being used. So data what is been given use of an punch card, even if what we get the output use of a paper tape. So what we find it that those the different pattern of things, those the different pattern of structures we see that each of the structures there we have what different type of our commercial uses. Okay, so those the things are very much expensive. They are used to keep a very much what space. They used to generate a high voltage. Okay, they used to create a high heat. So these are the things what are the disadvantage factor we can find in this particular generation. So one of this what we find it, the abacus. Abacus has emerged as what in the 5000 year ago. So in 5000 year ago we find it that Asia Minor, that means in the part of Japan or in the part of China, isn't it? Those the Asia Minor side what we find the abacus was being used to do the calculations. Okay, so this is a sliding of the beads. Different beads are there. You have seen the slates. Okay, so previously in the small you have seen the slates that particular portion of the stage and particular portion there are some rods, and in this rod there are some different pattern of beads are there. Okay, different color beads are there. So all these particular beads, what we find it, they are used to do what? They are used to do the different type of calculations. So slowly what we can find that Blaise Pascal, isn't it? Who is a Blaise Pascal? Blaise Pascal is a French mathematician. So this particular person, mathematician, has invented the first machine. What is the first machine? That's a rectangular box. Okay, that is called an Pascaline. A rectangular box is used to do the work. That is called what? That is called a Pascaline. So this is used to perform the additions and subtractions of the whole number. So this is on the 17th century we can find it that there is this particular things are there. It is in the column format, or column format is there. So this is used for subtraction, addition, subtraction, then multiplication, all these particular structures. That means see here, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So all this particular work can be done with this. Okay, so columnar machine calculator is what? This is an arithmetic method. Okay, so this particular meter is used to approach for what? Calculations. We find it that this thing has been invented for the purpose of what? For the purpose of calculations. So together what we feel, the inventors, a Pascaline, the lesbians, okay, Levens. So all this particular thing we have find it that there are the different pattern of machines are there, and all those different type of machines, what they are doing the different type of calculations. Okay, so we can find it those different pattern of calculations we can do with the help of those different type of machines. Now we come to the section that is called the Charles Babbage area. Charles Babbage area, what we find that it is a British mathematician at Cambridge University. So he is the first mathematician who find an analytical engine, isn't it? So analytical engine used to do the calculations of different type of what? Work. Okay, what the work we are giving here in the analytical engine, we find it this analytical engines or the different machines is used for doing the functional coding. The punch card is used for the memory to store the result. This is for what? The contribution what we find in this field. So Charles Babbage is known for what? The father of a modern computer, isn't it? So these are the things what we find that in a different generations, different phases, those different type of machines are been invented. So early of this stage, what we find is that Mark I, who has invented the Mark I, the first fully automated machine that used to calculate the work is been designed by what? Howard Alkaline of Harvard University, isn't it? Of IBM. So this is the particular thing what we find that they designed the machine for the purpose of what? Purpose of doing the same thing, work of calculations. So work of those calculations what we find can be done with this particular thing within what? 3 to 5 seconds per calculation require how many time? 3 to 5 seconds, that is which Mark 1. After that we find ABC has generated ABC or what? Atomsoft Berry computer. Okay, John Atomsoft and Clifford Berry has been done this particular thing. Clear? So that was the machine which we find it use the vacuum tubes for their internal logical and capacitor storage is been used. So ENIAC means electrical numerical integrator and calculator. This is an ENIAC. So this particular ENIAC, what we find it, this particular ENIAC is used for the what? Government purposes. That government used to do their job. US government, we know all this particular thing what has been invented. The US government first in what? They do it and use it for their army purpose or their university. So US government and University of Pennsylvania, they has used it. What we found it, there are 18,000, you can imagine, 18,000 vacuum tubes are used and 70,000 what? Resistors was used, isn't it? So 70,000 resistors were one 1500 relays consumed and 160 kilowatts of energy or power is produced. That means how much heat it will going to produce. You can imagine from here, isn't it? So this is very difficult to work. Program modification and detecting error were also difficult, isn't it? So this is the thing what we find the particular work will going to done by it. So Advac is another particular type of machine. This is the type of machine what we find that in the mid of 1940. Okay, in the mid of 1940, Dr. John von Neumann has designed one machine that is known as electrical discrete variable automated computer, isn't it? This was the computer which we find that it is used for the purpose of memory storage, for the purpose of what doing the program, for purpose of doing the machines work, isn't it? So this is the concept that has been utilized. This is the concept what we find that is used. So we use this particular concept, UNIVAC, ADVAC, all these different. UNIVAC means universal automatic computer. So these are the things what we find it, those the different pattern of computers are used in different generations. So when we are using those different patterns of computer in different generation, each and every computer has their different type of working pattern. They used to give us what the different type of way of doing the output. They give us the output, but they are in the different way. The first we have seen how they are giving the output and how they are taking the input. Similarly here also we can find that pattern. You can see this machine, you can see how the different the machine is. So this is what there are handles are there. That means we require a people or a man to use this particular machine, isn't it? So this is how we can find it, the work will be conducted. We can see the work can be done with utilizing those machines and utilizing those pattern of work. That means we can see in a generation wise that the things are going to change slowly, and slowly we find some new things are in front of us. So as we are seeing so many new things in front of us, obviously we know the different uses, and we find it that everything can be used in their particular pattern or particular way. Okay, so this is the thing, this is the part what we see it, that how those machines are being utilized and how they are being used in the different generations, how what they will going to do. Especially the thing is that they used to make a coordination between a single source, isn't it? Single source, the central control. That means from a central what the source is coming, from the central what the information is coming, all those information, all the source what we find it, that will going to be worked out. Okay, so as we find the thing will going to be worked out, this is the particular pattern of work what we see it, what we find it, that each particular pattern of work will be done by them, isn't it? So this is how we can see this work can be conducted and work can be accumulated. That means we can accumulate all the work, we can do the work. So there is a programming for what purpose? Programming for doing the work, programming for making the work, that we can do it and how we can present it, isn't it? So this is how we can make the particular section viable, we can make the particular work viable for all of us, for all the particular users. Different pattern of users are there, so for different pattern of user we can make them viable, we can make it use. Okay, so this is how we can do the particular working pattern, we can make the particular working pattern, and we can use it for the people purpose, for the human purpose. Okay, so those the human purpose work that which are there, each and every work what we find it, that will going to execute in this way. Clear? So this is how we can do this particular work. Now comes the second generation. Second generation what we find, this is the generation where we see that we are using what? Transistor. That means vacuum tube has been replaced by transistor. Size of the transistor now became smaller. This is the transistor. These all are the transistors. You can see here. These all are the transistors. So those are the things what we have seen the first generation machines and first generation what? Now we are talking about a second generation. So in this particular generation, we find it that there are the different type of machines are there, and in this particular thing, what we are using the assembly language for start and beginning, the machine language, isn't it? There is a concept of storage also. So IBM 401 1401, this is, or 401, what we can say, that was the particular machine of this generation which is used to do the particular work. So this is known as a transistorized computer. Okay, transistorized computer. Vacuum tube has been replaced. So IBM 1400, 7000, Honeywell 2000 are some of the machine in these generations. Clear? So they are being used in this particular way. So see here about the third generation. We have changed in the third generation. The third generation, what we have used, integrated circuit, different pattern. This type of things now you can see in your motherboard, isn't it? This pattern of things you can see in your motherboard. This particular pattern of things or this pattern of things you can see in your motherboard. That means these are the different pattern of transistors. Okay, so they will going to have a particular machines that will going to work. So this is a sustainable reductions of the size and consume the machine. So it will going to design for a new level, new version. It means what, the different types, like a single chip called a semiconductor, reduce the size even for the further weightage, isn't it? So all these things like Fortran, COBOL, all this language has came in this particular generation. So in this generation, what we find, it is a what? It is a multi-programming section has started from this particular area, isn't it? So when we are using the ICs or integrated circuit, and when we are using the this particular different type of things, we are making the program a what? Use for everyone. We make the program use for each and every particular work, isn't it? So this is the thing what we find in this particular generation is being used of. Now fourth generation, this is what, more modified. Very large scale integrated circuit is used. See here, this is the very large scale integrated circuit is used. This is very common to all of us, isn't it? So very large scale integrated circuit is being used for what? For investing the microchips, and we can find it. There are the different personal computers are there, personal networking systems are there. In the fourth generation, what we find it, there is a small scale integrated circuit, then large scale integrated circuit, and very large scale integrated circuits are there. So all this particular thing what we find, all these particular chips, there are 4400. Okay, so 4004 chips are being used in Intel. So those are the things, from 10 to 20 components are there. Slowly and slowly it became 400 chips. So that way what they are doing, they are reducing the size, isn't it? They are reducing the size and making the size so that it can be usable by everyone in a very easy way. That from that time we find that higher generation of computers are available and it is being used for every person. So these are the different generation. First generation, what we see it, this is the first generation. In this particular generation, we can see that what we are using, isn't it? This is the first generation from 1944 to 59, and vacuum tube was used. Second generation is from 1956 to 64, transistor was used. Third generation is from 1964 to 79, large scale integrated circuit was used. Fourth generation is for 1975 till to the date, means it is set till 2020, isn't it? Very large scale integrated circuit use, and after that the fifth generation is now under the development, where we want to use artificial intelligence. That means where machine can understand everything and machine can do everything. So this is what our different generation is. So thank you students. I am ending my lecture session here. Thank you all.